There we are. Fishing Maniacs, welcome back to another one. What's going on, everybody?
In case you didn't see the title, surprise, I'm not doing my live today. I'm on his instead.
Got the boy Mike, Binyaoutdoors. That's what I was trying to do. YouTube's a little silly, and it won't. How do I edit? I'm trying to tag you in the thing. I don't think.
To be honest, everybody I've seen in the chat so far knows who I am.
Yeah.
So we got our regular crew up in here. So
I'll tag you in the end. No, because once I can edit the thing on the YouTube Studio, it won't let me edit the title on YouTube Studio until it's actually done. So it is weird.
I've said that so many times when I've had like guys like guests on that have like businesses.
Did we lose you?
Hold on, my audio cut out.
Oh no, you're good. You're back.
There we go.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, my internet messed up for a second.
Who's first? Who we got the early bird special? Scott, 8:30. Early bird special, my man.
Scott's always, dude. It's crazy.
Dog.
I always get the eyeball emoji from him like every live stream. Sometimes I'll literally get an eyeball emoji at like 2:00. Like the dude's already in the podcast.
Oh geez, Dave Raleigh in the building. What's up, man? Early too. 5'10", my boy. Who else we got in here? Frank. Michael Bradley's in the building. Big shout out to all the Fishing Maniacs. Appreciate you guys. We're getting ready to have our first members live here coming up soon. I think I'm actually going to talk about what the plan is for Gunnersville, which, dude, I think that's like
2 weeks.
That's crazy.
Because that's the same weekend. That's why I'm not in it, is because that's the same weekend as my championship for.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, like, literally in like a week and a half, I'm going to get ready to drive down.
Yep. You're going down for week and a half. Yeah.
It's going to be because I'm off on Thursday. So I want to be dead. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do, but I'll figure that out. That'll be worst comes to worst is I'll get down there Friday, fish all day.
Yep.
Or I'll get down there Thursday night. Worst case scenario is Thursday night. And then fish
sometimes,
all day
dude, over preparing. My last tournament, dude, we sucked. And I'll be straight up. You guys are going to watch that video and be like, what the hell happened? But like sometimes I do think that over preparing can burn you too, because then you get these preconceived notions as to what bait you have to use, and then it's hard to pivot.
Yeah,
it can, like I get stuck like that a lot in tournaments where it's like it's got to be a wacky rig bite because that's what I've caught on all season, and then you spend 2 hours burning yourself out on the wacky rig, and you're like, yeah, this isn't gonna happen. But then crazy. Like you wasted that 2 hours because you have this preconceived notion that it's supposed to work.
It's nuts, dude. That's kind of what I did in my tournament this weekend, but getting all that. Viv, what's up? You already know. I'll get you out soon. Lucas?
Yeah, we definitely got to hook up and go fishing. I know we said that last year too and never made it, but there's still a little bit of time this year, but it's hard to like.
It's getting tough now because today's the last day of 7 o'clock sunsets.
Yeah.
In the 7s. Today is the last day, so we'll be in the 6s now. It's kind of – this is when I get to that point. It's like back to like I can't fish after work, which sucks.
Dude, you know what's funny too? I was going to ask you this too while I have you here is from the content creation side, it makes you want to fish. But like I get a little bit of burnout this time of year. But at the same time, because I know winter's coming and I can't fish, sometimes it's almost a grind to get myself to the lake. Once I'm on the lake, I love it. And I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it. But sometimes getting off that couch, man, to go get in the truck to drive to the lake, it's like last weekend, dude, I only fished one of the 3 days because I have 4 10s now. I know we talked about me getting on that schedule at one point. So I finally convinced the bosses. So I have 3-day weekends now. So I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
That's
Dude,
amazing.
I didn't fish. I fished Friday. I didn't fish Saturday or Sunday. Just didn't fish. Just stayed
I
home,
feel you on that
hung
because
out with
it's
the
like the
dog.
end of the season. You've been grinding. It's like you come into the beginning of the season so amped. You're going so much.
Dude, I go hot too. The problem
Yeah,
is, like, I get so cabin fever. Like, I ice fish a little bit,
I
but I
don't.
don't. It hasn't been safe. Like, ice fishing has been really dangerous up here because even when we did go, the videos I did put up that we went, we were only like 40, 50 yards from shore, and it was still like after that you were starting to get like be like 3 to 4 inches of ice, which is good but not ideal. And so, like, dude, I'll hit the water fucking ice out. Like, I'm hitting the water March.
Yeah,
Like, I've literally been casting and had baits like sitting on top of skim ice, not realizing that the whole corner of the lake is still frozen. Like, yeah, and that's the thing is
in
I
the
go like
yak.
you say, it goes so freak. Oh yeah, dude. Literally
Oh,
the first day I went out this year, it was the funniest thing, dude. I came up into this little bay and there's a pocket, and there's a grass flat on the back of it. So I just took I was throwing a kitech because I was like a little swim bait, early season, small bait. Dude, I casted that thing into the bay area and I could see like something on the surface of the water, but I thought it was like kind of like a scum line. Dude, the bait just landed there. It just sat there on top of the ice, and I was like, "Oh, this is still frozen. Crap."
Jesus.
That's how
And you're
cold
out
I
there
was.
with your kayak?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, you're a nut. I won't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like the water temp was like 40.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
was
doing that.
bad. I didn't catch a damn thing, but I have.
Because my thing is, I'm just scared. God forbid you go in.
So I will say, from a safety standpoint, I would be remiss to not say I wear float bibs. I don't know if you've seen those. So they
Okay.
make ice fishing bibs that have life jacket material in them. So if you were to go in the water, one, they keep you a little bit warmer, but they're buoyant, so they keep you out of the water, and a life jacket. And I
Okay.
only go like if it's sunny. Not that that makes that much of a difference, but I'm not like going in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
But it's still stupid. Like, I have a rowboat, which is what I'm going to do this year. Is like I'm going to fish as late as I possibly can, because there was a lot of guys here in Vermont that were up on Champlain, dude. They were catching smallies in like December.
Yeah. That's yo, dude, I see that too.
It was
Snowstorms.
it was
They're literally doing
aggravating, dude. I was
snowstorms.
watching these dudes in bass boats, and I know exactly where they're fishing from, and it's not like what's good about it is they're not far from shore
Yeah.
because those smallies pull in shallow because the water gets it's warmer shallow than it is out deep,
Okay.
and those guys are pulling like decent smallies out of a couple of places. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna blow it up. It's Lake Champlain, but there's a access called Converse Bay, which is literally a huge bay completely surrounding the access. So it's pretty sheltered from the weather. So you can get in there with like a kayak or a small boat and not have to worry
Okay.
about a big storm kicking up.
All right. We might have to slide up there. I've never been up there yet.
Dude, what we should do, honestly, is you should come up and do an ice fishing send. It'd be kind of fun to see you out on the ice.
I don't know about all that, man.
Get you braving out
I don't
the
know
ice
about
fishing deal.
a couple of the guys in the club were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get you out," and I'm like, "Yeah, all
At
right.
the very least, we should get you on Champlain this year or next year. Just have you come up and
Yeah,
go
I'm
hit
down." But
Champlain.
try to make some moves here so I can.
And technically, dude, the thing is too, technically, because we're not keeping fish, because you get a New York license, right? Because you fish a lot
Yeah,
in New York. Your New York license is valid on Champlain
yeah,
because it's reciprocal licensing. So
yeah,
you wouldn't
yeah.
even have to buy a Vermont license if we just fish Champlain.
Really?
As long as you
Even if
don't
I
bring
fish
fish,
on.
because the only rule is you can't keep them and bring them home to a Vermont ramp.
Oh, that's fine.
So if you technically have a New York license, you can fish on the lake. You just can't
Yeah, I
keep
always have
fish,
my
but we're
permit.
not keeping them anyways. We're just throwing them back. So
All right, that's pretty legit. We might have to get up there. A couple more people jumping in. Tweezy, what's up?
get down to the southern part of Massachusetts and Connecticut. Water is open. See, that's
TX.
the other thing, Little Rich. I could do that too. So the Cape in Mass is always open water. It's never really freezes up. I technically could go fish Mass too, but
TX is giving us crap about ice right now.
yeah, dude. So you know what's funny is I used to ice fish a lot as a kid, but back then this is like a back in my day old man yelling at clouds story. But you used to get like 6, 8 inches of ice, and you could put a ice shanty out in the lake and just leave it there and just go fish
Yeah,
whenever you wanted. Now, dude,
it's different.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
3 inches. You have 3 inches on Monday, and come Saturday, it's open water. And then the following week, you got 3 more inches. Like it's so volatile that it's not
yeah.
worth it.
Can't do it.
But I do enjoy making content on the ice. I won't go by myself. Like I don't like the idea of being out there by myself and then risking if I fell through, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? I want someone there.
Yeah,
Plus, ice fishing is boring.
yeah. I'm not. That's why I can't do it.
I can't if I have someone there shoot the shit with and talk and hang out and chill, set up some
It's
tip
different.
ups, then that's more of a social gathering than a fishing trip for me. But
It's different. It's definitely different.
yeah.
But what are some what are some things you do for like? Because I know you're another tournament guy. I've been meaning to, I thought I was gonna write some stuff down, and I got a little busy at work and sidetracked. And
You good?
didn't write anything down. But like consistency wise, like what are some things? Because I know you said your team is in first for AOI, so I want to pick your
Yeah.
brain a little bit about that. What are some things that you do to stay like consistent? 'Cause I know you guys fish a couple different lakes and stuff like that in your trail. What are you?
So yeah, the biggest thing, dude, is trying to think of the easiest way to word this is the biggest mistake I think guys make when they fish tournaments is they don't stick to their game. I think that's the biggest thing I see guys doing is like I fish the wacky rig almost exclusively. I'll throw in a Ned once in a while. I fish Kitech paddle tails or 4 inch paddle tails. I say Kitech because it's the most brand recognized name, but I don't. It's not always a brand Kitech, but like I see a lot of guys. What'll happen is they go to the tournament, right, and they're like, okay, I'm going to fish this shoreline because my map study says that this is the kind of area that suits my style, right? They run down that shoreline, they don't catch any fish, and then they see a guy out in the middle drop shotting. And they're like, oh, I just saw him catch one. I need to go drop shot. But if drop shot's not your game, you pull yourself out of your element and you don't, in my opinion, you don't catch as much fish and you don't have as good of a, you don't have that confidence. And the confidence, in my opinion, is more important than the bait, the technique, or the location. If you're not confident in a bait, you're not going to work it right. You're not going to do the right things or cast it to the right spot. And that's one thing I see a lot of guys that I compete against do is they'll see someone catching fish in a specific pattern. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm also going to be full disclosure. If I see somebody doing a pattern that I'm comfortable with, if I see someone catching on a frog or something, yeah, I'm going to whip that frog out and see if it works for me. But I see too many guys that like are shallow water fishermen going deep because they see someone catching fish deep, or they're a moving bait guy that suddenly will switch to finesse because they saw a guy catch a fish on a wacky rig. And I think that's the big mistake is they wholly abandon their game plan. And that's the thing about like in my opinion in tournaments is like my game plan, I have like 7 contingencies and 20 minutes into that tournament, those are all gone. Like, I don't care how well prepared you are for a tournament, you cannot plan for a tournament until you get out there. And then when you see the environment, the situation, whatever, then you adapt. But I see too many guys like it's happened to me. Like, me and my teammate, the last tournament we won, we were arguing, literally arguing because I was like, dude, we need to fish these docks. And he's like, let's go fish the grass. And I'm like, the grass way the fuck over there. Like, that's going to take us 20 minutes to get there. We're not going to catch any fish. And like, that's where having a teammate has helped me, because I would have just sat there and dink and dunk those docks because that was in my head what was working. But if we hadn't got the other fish in the grass, we wouldn't have won. And it's all like this give and take. The problem is you have to be fluid, I guess, is the best way to like
Yeah,
round this conversation out. Is like you can't lock in on a thing, but don't get too far away from your core abilities,
yeah,
because if you do, you're going to end up fishing baits that you're not comfortable with in the wrong situation. It may work, but more often than not, if you stick with your skill set, you're going to be able to pick those fish up,
all right.
in my opinion. But
Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind. I feel like there's definitely been some times where I get like,
it's
so
so
I
easy
feel
to
like
spin
my
out.
biggest problem is right now is the paddle thing, because I just know it
Yep.
takes me a little bit to get places. Because
Yep.
even pedal drive is like you're still like consistently faster because you can keep yourself just rolling at a consistent speed.
Yep.
Excuse me. The moment I stop, it's like slow down, So moving is like a big thing. Like I committed this last tournament. I had my game plan. I said I was going to go to this point and then work in between the 2 points. And I went to it, committed to it, and then I got over there and there was like hella boat traffic because it was like it's a pleasure boater lake. So
Yep.
yeah, I guess that'll kind of lead me into my next question. Um, do you number one? Well, it's like a two-part question. Do you fish pleasure boater lakes? And then do you feel as though that the splash and all the wakes from the pleasure boaters, what do you think that does to the fish? Is it negative, positive? Turn smallies on, turn smallies off, turns largies on, turns largies off. What do you think about all that?
So yes and no. So everybody that knows I'm from Vermont, Champlain is the bucket list fishery for everybody. I haven't fished Champlain this year. I avoid it. The reason is because there is a lot of activity at the boat ramp. It's not just, and some of the ramps that I fish out of are predominantly fishermen, but there's actually literally a lake right next to my house that we're fishing the championship on. And I avoid that lake all summer because it's wake boats, it's pontoon boats, it's jet skis, and also it's a trout lake. So there's a lot of bigger boats that are out there trolling too on top of it. So granted, they're not making a wake, but there's just a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
um, that being said, I think a lot of people, and that's actually another good point from the tournament. We can kind of bring that call back to the tournament question too. I think people give too much credit to other fishermen and influence of boats, because, and this is something that my brother actually told me one time when I was hunting that I never thought about it. And it was like somebody walked in front of my tree stand while I was hunting, right? And I was like, I'm just going to get up and leave. And he's like, yeah, but dude, if you weren't there, that dude still would have walked in front of your tree stand. So those deer are still used to that happening. It's the same
Mhm.
thing with fishing. Whether you were there or not fishing that dock, that wake boat was still going to go by that dock, which means those fish have been exposed to that wave hitting those docks. They don't necessarily know that it's a human. And if anything, those like wake boats, they probably don't think it's a fisherman, because bass boats don't make a wake like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've learned is, for me, and it's really weird because I hate current. I will not fish current. Like I won't fish rivers. It's not my game. But dead slit calm lakes suck too. When there's no wind and the lake is completely glass smooth, I feel like the bite shuts off. Whereas
Yeah.
when you get 15 wake boats and jet skis doing donuts and idiots screwing around, you're
Yeah.
creating unnatural chop, but the fish further away from that chaos don't know that that's being created by humans. So it can turn fish on. I've seen it happen. But that's one thing, like in tournaments is the same thing. Like I was telling my teammate, like we fish right behind guys. There's actually a guy that we fish with in the tournament trail that every time we've caught a big fish, he had just gone through the area we were in. and he's fishing the same. I can tell you, he's fishing the same color worm that my teammate fishes. Wacky, same style of fishing, but he leaves and then we come in behind him. I think people give too much credit to like, oh, everything is destroyed because someone else was here before me, or everything is destroyed because that boat just drove through there. I'm guilty of it. I get so pissed at wreck kayakers that go between me and the bank when I'm fishing. I am ready to murder someone. And I'm
Yeah,
sure it happens to you a lot because
I
you're
hate
probably
that
a little
too.
bit more pressured lakes. But like you see them, they come up and they smile at you and they just cut right between you and the bank. And you're like,
I
dude,
almost put my jig in this one dude's kayak.
dude, it so pisses
He
me
went
off.
past me, and I literally like I was just like,
Yeah, dude,
and like
I've been
he
right there.
cast right. I was like, I'm testing my accuracy on you, buddy. And I put it
Yep.
right next to him, and he looked at it, and then he looked back, and
Yeah, dude,
I was like,
and
I'm
the
gonna
thing
be
is though,
there
I've had
because
that
he just
happen
came
and then
past
cast
me.
in behind them and caught fish.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Because so you know what? It brings up like so when I was bank fishing, I kind of don't really enjoy it anymore, which is terrible. But I'm not gonna say I don't enjoy it, but it's just kind of like meh.
once you get off the bank, it's
That's
really
it.
hard to get
That's
back
it.
to
It's
it.
hard to go back. So, but this one lake I know, and I used to always. It was very interesting to me because one of the sides of the lake you've probably seen in my videos. The water is like 5 feet from the road. Like it's like the road is here. You got the white line barricade. I'd step over, and then there's like an embankment. It's like a 3 foot, 4 foot drop, and the lake is right there.
Yeah.
So you know how many fish I caught right
Yep.
there? Like I'm talking about right on the bank. The biggest fish I ever caught out of the lake. No, it's not true. But it was still close to the road though. Yeah, because it was out of the pot. Yeah. The biggest fish I've ever caught out of the lake are all within 10 feet of the bank on the roadside. So in my head, there's no way that that fish can't feel those cars coming by.
Yep.
There's no way.
I learned from my
They're just
teammates this
used to
year,
it,
dude.
and they
There's no
go,
such thing.
okay, that noise is not gonna whatever that is, it's not bothering me.
Yep. They're used to it. It's just like, and think about it, like where you live, right? How many deer you see on the side of the highway?
A ton.
And
Dude,
they're
they cross the
hunted.
road now. They look both ways.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
swear to I put it
they're a
on
hunted
everything.
animal,
I
but
put it on
they
everything.
get
I
used to it.
watched the mama deer go.
Yep. Yep.
I was like, I'm driving home from work yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I'm like, she's looking both ways.
Yep.
No way.
Yeah, and the funny part, dude, then they'll look back and they'll blat at the next deer to tell
yeah,
them it's safe.
come on, let's go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Same thing with fish, dude. And fish honestly have, in my opinion, we humanize fish too much. Fish have less intelligence than a deer, for
yeah.
example, right? So, like, what fish have learned
Eating on
is,
babies.
yeah, fish have literally the education that you provide a fish is there is some nuance to maybe changing your color of your bait or the profile of your bait if they've seen the same bait all day long. But they basically have learned the same thing that an infant learns. If I touch this thing that's hot, I'm gonna burn my hand. That's it. They've learned if I bite this little thing that looks like a pink worm, I've been put in pain from this before, so that's probably danger.
Yep.
But at the
We're
same
having to do.
time, sometimes I think that fish don't bite out of hunger. They bite out of you pissed it off
Yeah,
because seven other people came and threw a bait in front of this fish's face and it keeps seeing this thing and it keeps seeing this thing and it's ignoring it because it knows it's danger, but then eventually just gets so fucking pissed
yeah.
because it's finally seeing the last one that is just mad and hits it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's
I'm
like,
tired of you being in my space. Get the hell out of here. And they can't just grab it. So
yeah, and that's honestly why a lot of times I'll switch things. I'll do subtle changes. Like one of the things I talk about a lot on my channel is like I fish three different types of worms. It's not because I have any loyalty to any particular brand. It's because Yum Dingers sink slower, Senkos have a different softness to them, and Berkeley has their max scent has more of a matte finish. So like I will literally go through a bank and throw pretty much the same color bait in three different plastics because sometimes having a slower fall is what makes them bite.
There he is, Big Vogel. He said that's part of the reason why I like JDM baits. They
Yep.
may be similar, but they are a different presentation that aren't typically seen from everybody that shops at Bass Pro Shops.
Yep.
That's a fact. Slight little nuances, you know. Okay, I got another question for you. What is your take on ribbed baits? Like, let me see. I got an example here. Okay, like, God dang it! I just like dropped it into the sea of baits. Something like this, like the ribs on a spunk shad, or like
So
or
I throw a lot of those style baits.
like those ribs.
So one of the baits I throw the most, I call it my cheat code worm,
Yeah,
is a grande bass rattlesnake worm.
yeah. Big Gramps is a big fan of that. He's been screaming about those lately.
Those things are dirty. And the reason is the fall rate. So the way they fall, because those ribs catch the water and makes them more erratic.
Yeah.
The 3-inch and the 4-inch, I fish those. So those I fish for smallies a lot.
No freaky, little Rich.
See? Yeah, exactly. Those particular baits, and it's funny, dude. I didn't actually find grande bass originally. What I found is Big Bites makes another one. Can't remember what the name that they called it. It's the same bait basically. They were in a discount bin at a retail store, and I just bought them for like $1. Right? They were just in one of those like clearance bins in the corner, and I was like, "This is different. It's 4 inches. It's like actually like they call it like a ring fry is what other brands call it, but it's literally
Oh,
like it's like the Strike King has one that's like a ring fry, and then um,
it's not like the
Lake
Lake Fork.
Fork has one that
Yeah,
has,
yeah.
and
That's what
I actually, to be honest, the Lake Fork ones I've been using those more than the grande bass because they're cheaper
yeah.
and they
They got
work
the
just as
garlic
good.
scent.
They are wicked garlic. Those are
Wicked.
almost like gambler level garlic. Like
Yeah.
their baits are like you feel like you're in an Italian eatery when you open up that package. It's insane. Like I feel like I need to have some Alfredo after opening that package. But I fish a lot of those, and that's what I mean by like that's a subtle change that you can do. If you've been throwing a regular traditional Senko all day, throw that on. And the thing about those is you can throw those on like a Ned or shaky head because the ribs create like a weird erratic. They kind of direct the head a lot more. I actually fish. I don't fish the spunk shad, but I've been using the freeloader, which is kind of the same. It doesn't
I
have
just
the
got
ribs.
a few of those. Yeah. This is a
I
little bit
use those a
smaller.
lot.
The
That's
spunk
actually
shot's
what I use
thick,
mainly.
big presentation,
Yep.
which I don't honestly like. I don't think it's that big. I don't think the fish think it's that big. It's a us thing.
Dude, that's the one thing I will say when I hooked up with Ave and I started getting some baits from them and like glide baits and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not Brendan level. I'm not throwing a freaking 22-inch shad with, I don't want to have a cane pole so I can throw the bait because it's so heavy. But I do see the value in upsizing and downsizing too. But like sometimes they won't hit a 4-inch swim bait, but they'll hit a 6-inch swim bait.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it, I've seen a lot of biologists talk about it, and it kind of makes sense. Like a bass's mentality, right? It's just everything's a math equation for them. They're mentally tuned into the point where if I need to go from my hiding spot 20 yards to go hit that bait, is it worth the calories I'm going to burn to get to that bait? Am I going to consume enough from eating that to justify moving?
Yep.
So sometimes I think having a bigger bait, it doesn't always lead to a bigger bite too. If you're watching this and you have that in your head, you can throw a freaking 16
Throw it
inch
out.
worm and catch a 10-inch bass. It
Yep.
does not upsize your bite.
Or you can
But
throw a 3-inch Ned rig and catch the biggest fish in the lake.
Yep. But what it does do is if a fish is lethargic and it's just hanging out and you run a 6-inch swim bait by its face, where all it's got to do is just go, it's going to eat it because it's like, this is easy, free calories that I don't have to do any work for. They're going to hit it. And the
Yeah.
other thing that they will do with bigger baits is they'll also tail it, which will give you an indicator that they're there. That's the other thing I've learned is like
Yep.
sometimes they don't. Sometimes I'll throw a big bait with no intention of catching a fish on it. I'm just throwing a big bait into area to see if I get any follows, and then
It's
watch where
actually
they
a
go
very good
back to.
idea. Holy smokes! I just thought about something.
So you use that like I'll use a big like I mean I don't want to say it's big, but like say like a mag draft or coal shad, right?
Yeah,
You
that's
flip that
exactly what I'm thinking.
into
I should do that for Gunnersville.
you throw
The
that on
bait
the edge
store.
of like a pad flat, right? Work it along the pad flat, bring it back to your kayak. Watch, see if the pads start moving, see if stuff comes up. Because what you can do is you take a big bait parallel like a bank, a ledge, whatever, and then throw your smaller bait in. Because what that does is those fish are so curious, they get up front and pin because they're like, what is that? And then you bring the nice subtle bait in behind it and then they just lash out. I've done that so many times where like I'll use a big bait as like it's a lure. It's a because that's the one thing about fish that's so stupid is you can throw I mean I swear to God you could throw that stupid Rapala thing that they hang at retail stores and bass are still gonna come out and look at it and go and follow it just to see what the hell it is. They're just so naturally curious that if you can get their attention, you can see where they are, and then it gives you more information. Okay, yeah, I saw them come out of the grass, so they're definitely in there. Now, how do I go get them?
Two great comments right here, and I love this right here. I love that you would disagree. I don't ever want my fan base to just be a bunch of yes men or women. You know what I mean? I want you guys to say, "Hey,
So,
I don't agree with that," or "Guess I like that."
absolutely. So, that's the other thing. That's another thing that the reason I have a YouTube channel is because of that comment.
Yes, I want that.
Because I used to watch Tactical Bassin. I used to
Mhm.
watch Alex Rudd, which is great, except guess what, guys? We don't have shad.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
Yep.
So they're like, you need to use a shad bait in the fall because of the shad spawn. Well, there is no shad spawn here. We don't have
Yeah.
them.
Don't have it.
So there is a regional difference. And don't let bait makers tell you any otherwise that there is colors that are regional and there is big baits. If I was in Texas, I would throw a 8-inch grub and a bullworm
Or
and all of
anything
that crap.
Virginia and down.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So in the lakes that I'm in, if I threw like an 8-inch bullworm, is like one of the big ones that people like to throw, right? My fish are not going. They're going to be curious and they're going to look at it, but a lot of the fish aren't going to. They're not going to like look at it. They're not going to bite it. But I could throw a 6-inch worm and they are going to bite it. But bigger baits do. I will say you will get big bites on big baits because those fish got big for a reason.
And Scott or Frank, sorry. Studies show that bass will most often eat prey that are 10 to 45% of their own length,
Yep.
with incidents of prey that are 50% to 60%. Of course, they're hoping it fits in their mouth. Yeah. So
Now,
essentially, according to that, so you're saying, yeah, because that kind of says bigger baits will attract bigger fish because if it's something that needs going back to kind of what
yeah,
you're saying, Mike, is that is that worth me going to go get that? But if it stays within that 10 to 45% of their own length, I guess that's when they go, like, especially like we said, a 6, 8 inch swim
yep,
bait. You think about a 22-inch fish, that fish might go,
yep,
hey, that's worth it for me. What's
yep.
up with that?
Now, the thing I will say too is, and this is something to also put in perspective, a 6-inch Senko is different than a 6-inch jerk bait. It's
Yeah,
different than a 6-inch glide bait
yeah.
because a 6-inch Senko is a very thin profile. A 6-inch swim bait is going to be thick and
Usually
deep.
are pretty thick.
So you're going to have differences in the profile because that's what really it is it's you're trying to match something that they think is food.
Okay, here's a prime example.
16-inch
Let's
gambler.
see.
Yeah, I could see.
Oh, I had these all in order too, and I'm just messing them up. It's okay. Do it for the live. Are these the same size? Yes. Okay, prime example. Magic worm, 6 inches.
Yep.
You see how thin, small this is. One of my favorite colors in John's Juice. Same size.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I mean. Like that bait is a different profile.
Same
Granted,
size.
you're fishing it differently too, but the big
Yeah.
thing is like you throw a like example is like a jig, right? If you throw, and depending on the manufacturer, you can throw a 1/4 ounce jig that's this big if it's tungsten, but you can also throw a 1/4 ounce lead jig
Another one.
that's big. That right there, you shouldn't show that. Don't tell anybody about that one,
Same length.
dude. Those baits are. That's the bluegill spawn, right? Or is
4K
it
blue.
4K?
4K.
Oh, is it 4K? Okay. You turned me into a 6 cents, dude. You should get some commission on some of the baits I bought because what you guys don't know is every once in a while I'll be texting him from the tackle store like, "Hey, do you have this one? Have you fished this one?"
Yep. Actually, I get a couple people that do that, which I
Because
appreciate.
it's not 6 cents just showed up here. Like we didn't have six. You couldn't buy 6 cents bait anywhere retail here.
Really?
Not last
And then
year.
just out of nowhere, they were just there?
Yeah, last year, dude, you couldn't buy
Wow.
a single 6 cents bait anywhere, and now they
Dude,
have
they're
their
everywhere
own
here.
freaking aisle.
Good.
And I will say that swim bait, the trace swim baits are
The mini trace is
money.
good.
They're
They really
money.
are.
And they're actually going to be really good in about 2 to 3 weeks when they're doing that feed up stage because they look like a bluegill profile.
Yep.
And like the floating one sinks just below the surface where you could fish it over grass. They pound those things.
I was going to say, don't be afraid of the fast sink either.
Yep.
A lot of people hear that fast sink and they go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just so you know, it's a giant lipless.
Yeah.
That's all
They really don't get hung up, dude.
They
It's
don't
funny
sink that fast either. It's just like the
No.
same way that like one of these sinks.
Yeah.
So if you know how to fish a lipless, it's literally the same thing, just a bigger profile, and will probably get you a bigger bite.
It's crazy. So early season, that's what I was catching a lot of the fish on with that bait. And just to give a credit, not even to try to turn this into a 6 cents commercial, but I lost a rod with a 6 cents trace on it. It sat in the lake for 3 weeks, right? Recovered the rod. The hooks weren't even rusted. So the hardware is pretty solid. It was sitting in the lake.
The hardware.
It was literally sitting in the lakes for 3 weeks, dude. Pinned, like it was hooked into the keeper on my rod because the rod fell off of my horizontal rod holder. So it was literally just sitting on my rod in the mud for 3 weeks. I happened to see the tip of it when I was fishing in the tournament and pulled my rod out of the water, and the hooks were fine. The swim bait itself swam fine. I've caught fish and fished it since. It's still in my tackle box. So that's a pretty good endorsement for that bait. And that bait gets smashed.
Shh. Leave me alone, Frank. I own a tiny Clash. Mike gave me one.
Some of those baits are like, that's the other thing, dude, is some of those baits are like insanely priced, and I don't know if I'd have the confidence to throw them.
I've never heard of them. It's like, don't even look at any of this.
Dude, it's hard to, the price point and the quality of them, though, it's really hard to like, I've used a lot of their stuff, and their swim bait heads are good. Their square bills are good. The thing about their square bills is like everybody else, because of forward facing sonar, has backed off. Like Strike King basically has like the 1.5, 2.5, and that's it. They haven't done any innovation. 6 Cents has the Crush X, the Crush. I don't even know all the names, but like they have like 15 iterations of the same bait, the same color, but it has a different action or different depth.
Launch, Crush 25. What is this? Crush 25 medium diver. This curve 65, curve 55. Crush silent. Crush 50,
Yeah.
crush 50, crush 50 silent, crush 100, crush 100 silent, 75, flat finesse 4, F4.
Yeah, you got to be careful almost
Pressure
because they
series.
look almost the same, but they do
You
have
got this
different depths
20.
and actions.
You got the movement. They got, you know what I mean? They got.
There's it's like you have, and what's cool is they do it, but they do it in all their colors. So
Mhm.
like if you need a bait that goes to 8 feet, they have it. If you need a bait that goes 1 to 3, they have it. If you need something with a bigger bill and a wider wobble, they
They
have it.
have.
And it's in the same pattern.
Yep.
And I don't know why more industry companies don't get
Just
that
make the
hint,
same patterns across the whole damn brand.
because like Strike King, they'll have certain baits that you only get in
You can
certain
get 4K
sizes.
bluegill in almost, I think, literally every single thing that they have. Maybe some of the newer ones don't come in it, but they probably will update it to a point where you can
Yeah.
get 4K bluegill and just
The only
about.
problem you have with the 6th Sense stuff is you can't get it because it's out of stock. When the color gets hot, it gets hot with them.
Oh yeah. It goes like insanely hot. It's like
It's hard to
it's like
find
the
them.
matte shad of a of a Vision 110. Those are
Yep.
still damn near impossible to get. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Apparently they come with a bigger trace.
I'd throw 7.5. Absolutely. So are you gonna? I know you originally had this whole plan of getting a pedal drive that fell through. Are you looking to upgrade next year, or are you?
Yeah, I need that. Like I'm not gonna rush it. I would love to, but
It's. I will tell you. Here's the problem. Right? Is you'll never be able to go back to paddling.
oh no, it's fine. I don't care.
You won't be able to
I
do
don't
it.
care. I don't
A
care.
lot of guys have asked me like if I wanted like, because I want a motor, but I don't want a motor to be my main propulsion. What I
So
want
you
the
ready?
motor for is I want to fly to the other side of the lake at tournament. I want to be able to hit my first spot before
That's it.
everybody else gets there. And
That's
then
it.
I'm going to shut the motor off and pedal around, maneuver around. And then
That's for my boy
as
though.
dumb as it sounds, it's like $1,000 investment to get me to the spot and back home at the end of the tournament.
That's it.
That's all. Like if I could just turn that motor on and just ride back to the ramp after being exhausted and pedaling for 8 hours in tournament fishing, it'd be worth the money.
Almost everyone in my club has a motor. The tournaments start, and they're like, you hear somebody's counting down 3, 2, 1, boats in.
Yep.
And
Yep.
here I am.
Yep.
Like the picture on my phone, the background of my phone is me behind everyone. Hold on. Oh, my brother texted me. I thought it was.
Yeah, it's yep.
You can't really see it too great, but yeah, there you go.
Yep. Following everybody out.
I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me get a picture of everybody smoking me right now.
Yep. And the thing is,
My
dude,
boy,
it's
shout out to
what it
Nico
is
right
it
there.
allows you to, like, for example, we did our last tournament and dude, it was 30-mile-an-hour sustained wind.
Yeah,
And
that's
like if
it's
you had a motor, you could at least move into the wind to hit an area that's into the wind.
yeah.
Whereas, dude, I actually hurt my knee. Like I'm actually been fishing out of my rowboat since the tournament because I tore my ACL a long time ago and I aggravated my knee
Yeah.
trying to pedal in that tournament because
Yeah, that's tough.
you can't go anywhere. And I can't
Yeah.
imagine doing it in a paddle kayak. But like,
There's been a few rough moments. Like I said, my biggest thing is an anchor wizard.
yep.
If I didn't have an anchor wizard, I would have been destroyed. I probably wouldn't honestly, I wouldn't even fish. Wouldn't even fish.
That's a good question.
TX, I told you, I know it's never gonna happen, but stop hating on Ben. He ain't that bad. But you know what? TX said TX is my boy, and I remember his initial statement. So you know what? We can rock with that. TX said he will buy from 6th Sense when they stop messing around and get me a code. So I appreciate you, TX. You actually good with
Fair
me.
enough.
Yeah. Ben said that. He said that like a year and a half ago, probably. It was like, yo,
Yeah.
I will buy 6th Sense when they get my boy a code. I was like, all right, you know what? I can't say nothing about that. So TX, you good with me? I appreciate you, my boy. But he
absolutely.
does. He got a burning hate for Ben.
You know, it's dude is I don't follow stuff enough to really have any.
I love me some Ben, but that's just me. Start Casey. Yeah, Casey's a painter. Yeah, he's nice and knows the value of it. Yeah, yep, that's a fact. That's a fact. Anybody who doesn't know Casey Sobsack, one of the owners over there at Six Sense, and he is um the color scheme guy. I know he gets influenced, but essentially he makes all the colors.
They all get. I mean, let's be honest. If you're doing a production bait, you're doing a production bait. But Six
Yeah,
Sense does have some like the bluegill colors are cool.
they're stupid.
Like they do some really cool like subtle things that make a difference.
Like I like the lines.
Yep. Is
Blue
that
on
a
the
that's yeah.
That's a Quake.
I haven't fished that one yet, but that would definitely work up here with like the
Yeah,
yellow
no,
perch.
oh, actually, oh, here we go. Jesus, there's so much behind me. It's like ridiculous. It's honestly nauseating. So you ready? I know some people might be like, "Oh, that's so stupid," but why? Hold on, I'll blow myself up. Or I almost put a hook in my hand.
That'd be the video. Yep. Now we're gonna teach you guys to do the braid trick, dude. Yep.
So we got up top, you got Gillikin, and then the bottom is Bluegilla.
So, dude, Gillikin and 4K bluegill
Yeah, they just get munched, dude.
and bluegill spawn too. They're
Yeah.
all kind of in that same vein. The bluegill spawn is honestly my favorite.
It made me take off this whole row.
I
Okay,
actually, dude, I
I
have
get
the bluegill
Chad.
spawn in the jerkbait, the lipless,
This one's one of my
the
favorites. The
crankbait, the
Chads.
crush.
They
Yep,
look exactly the same, but they're not.
yep.
One's the Shad drone, and then this is Backs to the Bait Mans. This is the Jank Juice. Actually, I think they're discontinuing this color.
That'll be the one that gets hot because it's the
I
only one
hope
we
they
got.
don't. Yeah, exactly. I hope they don't. I got to holler at Bait Man. But I mean, they just got, and then there's another fire. I got so many different colors on this thing. This is another good one.
Yep.
It's more of like a see-through, translucent,
They
but
have that one in a jerkbait color that I've
yeah,
seen.
they do a really good job. There's another bluegill variant. What's this one? Bluegill Fire.
See, again, that one it looks a lot like the bluegill spawn with just a slight variation.
Yeah,
And
they do.
sometimes you got to be careful because you think you're buying one color, but you're buying a different one because they're so close.
Let's
But
see, what's this? Oh, here's another bluegill variant, Cajun bluegill.
yep,
It's like ridiculous now. I get this one. Yeah, I got a bluegill. I already showed that. Yeah, I don't think I have any more that right off the top. There's another Crush 50.
you know what's funny, Michael Bradley? You say that I've never caught a fish on just chartreuse black. I've caught a fish on like chartreuse black with mixed colors, but I've never caught a fish on just chartreuse black.
All you need, all these colors, all you need is hold on. Do I have it? That's Gramps' favorite color in the Crush 100. Yeah, there we go. Is that it? No, this is Citrus Pro Blue. Close, but no cigar.
Yep, I've got that. I've got that color too. Not in the
Close.
100, but
No, but
so I did see that question from Mike Vogel. I do want to touch on that.
yeah, I saw that
Better
too.
investment motor FFS. So here's that comes with a question from me, answering a question with a question. Do you fish predominantly grassy lakes or do you fish more rock bottom lakes? Because I have beat a lot of guys with forward facing sonar that the bite was shallow and they're trying to force their forward facing sonar to be the thing that's helping them catch fish. In my opinion, a motor is going to be more versatile because it gets you to and from the lake
Yeah.
where you need to be. You save energy that you're not burning, pedaling or paddling to your spot. And forward facing sonar is something that I'm not a for or against it. I'm not even weighing in on whether I think tournaments should ban it or not. It comes down to if your game is deep fishing, fishing suspended baits, fishing out in the middle, then you probably should buy it because that's going to help you. For me, I'm more target oriented. I want to be in 8 feet in water and under. I want to be able to see the tree that I'm casting to. I want to see the rock pile that I'm casting to. So for me, it's not as useful. And I think, put it this way, I've done tournaments for 3 years now. I see a lot more motors than I do forward facing sonar.
Yep.
And it's an expensive unit. Now, don't get me wrong, if prices come down on it and it gets a little bit more reasonable, I think you're going to start seeing more guys come into it. But like New Hampshire banned it for tournaments. New
That's
Hampshire
not.
put the state of New Hampshire put a ban on forward facing sonar for tournaments.
I don't like that.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, like for me, I don't want to make a $3,000 investment with a hot button topic like that, and then have organizations start banning it, and now I've
Yeah.
got a transducer that I can't sell because no one in my area can use it either.
Yeah. True.
Whereas a motor, they're not going to ban motors if they
Yeah.
have
They're
allowed them
getting
to be
ready to
thorough. They're not
upgrade
going to ban them.
the lift, essentially lift a band, because they're going to get ready to for KBF events. They're getting ready to do
Yep.
front end bow or bow and stern mounted motors. But my 2 cents on that Vogel. So I actually had an experience. I was telling Mike about it before the show. I got a short coming up on it. My boy Colin was riding around on his boat, and he has front facing sonar, and he literally pulled up next to me on his kayak and said, "Oh wow, there's a big bait ball. There's a group of fish underneath it." Cast out, hooked into a giant, and the only reason he lost the fish was because I was sitting next to him in my kayak, and the fish tried to go up under me.
Yeah.
When he tried to turn it, the hook came out, but I watched this fish like kick off and swim down. So he literally like a 4 or 5 pounder right in front of us. Going back to the boat traffic thing, within a football toss, there's 4 or 5 pleasure pontoons tied together, talking to us.
Yep.
10 minutes later, he cast right out in front of us. All this stuff right in the middle of the cove where traffic's coming in and out, and there's a bait ball, and the fish are underneath it feeding.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on what kind of
Crazy.
lakes you fish. If you fish lakes, like I will be the first to admit that, like, for example, the lake that I'm fishing my last tournament at, it's a deep lake, and there's a lot of places where a forward facing sonar, even like being in 40 feet of water, but being able to pan down 8 feet and say, yeah, there's definitely a bait school at 8 feet. There's definitely a bait school at 10 feet.
That's exactly
like
what he was
being
doing.
able to know that information. I don't even necessarily care about cast to catch. Oh, that's a bass. I'm going to cast to that specific spot. That's not really what I would use it for. It would be more, I am cruising across, like I'm pedaling to get to the next target on my bank. I'm going to pan that thing out deep and look at it as I go down the bank and go, oh, wait, I see there's a bunch of stuff suspended at 10 feet. Maybe they're not here. They're here. That's where I see the benefit of it. But again, my problem is I'm old school. Like, I literally just put a video up not that long ago that, like, I think the number one skill that people need to learn how to do isn't forward facing sonar. It's get back to your freaking roots and do instinctual fishing.
Yeah.
Stop relying on electronics. Stop relying on specific baits and just go out and just learn the environment. Because once you learn that, then you add the electronics. I'm not saying they don't help you. I'm saying if you can instinctually fish, then add forward facing sonar, then add good baits, then add good quality gear, all of a sudden you jump from, placing last in every tournament to winning because you have the mentality of, because I mean, at the end of the day, if the fish are on the other side of the lake, that forward facing sonar isn't going to do you any good.
Doesn't matter.
But if you know to go to the other side of the lake because XYZ condition has told you need to be over there,
and then you
can scan that bank and see where the fish are and know
exactly. You can confirm. Yep. So I mean, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go along with you and say that a motor is more important. Um, I'm gonna go with a different angle on that. It's kind of about the same angle though. In my opinion, a motor is gonna allow you to take more casts
Yep.
and more casts. I know this is gonna sound a little silly, but
It's true.
for the most part, the guy who takes the most casts usually does okay. I'm not gonna say he wins it all the time, but if you get out there, and my dad always said when I was fishing with him when I was young, Dad, why am I not catching any fish? You're not keeping your bait wet, boy. You're over there looking at the trees and joking around, blah 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 blah. Your bait's not wet. Your bait's not wet. And I used to always be like, "What is he talking about?" Yes, it is. I just took it out of. No, that was the difference between me and my dad. My dad cast the whole time he was out there. And thinking back now, he probably took 50 to 100 more casts than me.
Yep.
That's going to get you more percentages and more chances to catch a fish. So you get a motor and you can hit 3-4 different spots. Yeah, you might not, you might be able to slow down with front facing sonar and say, I am on the fish. I know they're here. But with a motor, I'd like to think that you could hit 4 or 5. Like me personally, I know we just coming off a big lake. We were just fishing Candlewood. I only hit one spot.
Yep.
I hit one spot, worked that area, and then I slowly started to make my way back to the boat ramp because that was it. Tournament, right?
To compound on what he's saying too is okay. So you're fishing a tournament, right? And you come up on submergent wood and you catch a fish. You pick it apart. You go to the next bank and you find that okay, yeah, wood is definitely a thing. There's another tree. I caught another fish on a tree. You look up the bank. There's no wood for 200 yards, but
Yeah.
there's a tree up there. Thing is, if you do get that pattern and you figure out, okay, they're on this specific deal, that motor gets you to that spot in, let's be realistic, 10 minutes. Whereas main paddling, that's a 20
20
minute,
minutes.
30-minute paddle.
Yeah.
Me pedaling, it's even going to take me twice as long as it paddling as it is with a motor. And the difference is I turn my motor on, I point my kayak at the place I want to go, and I retie. Because I don't have to focus on keeping my
Yeah.
paddle going. I don't have to
Yeah.
focus on pedaling. I can just make sure I keep my kayak straight and retie a knot.
You just
Change
sit and go
colors
like
out.
this.
You see it all the time. I see it all the time in tournaments. Guys will line themselves up where they need to go, and they cut off their bait, and they're tying a square bill while they're motoring. They're eating a sandwich. They're taking a drink of their water. Like you get that recharge while you're heading to the next spot, and
Yeah.
it gives you that. And you don't like. There is something about, and I don't know how to describe it. And if you don't fish tournaments, you won't understand it. Go out and fun fish for 8 hours, and then go out and tournament fish for 8 hours. They're not even in the same league.
No, not even.
Your exhaustion level after even compare it, you could go fun fish for 10 hours and tournament fish for 6 hours, and you're
So
still going to be
number
more
one thing about
exhausted
that?
after that 6 hours.
The number one thing about that is I've never once this year woken up at 4 a.m. to fun fish. Never once. Never once. I think I did it every single tournament. I went to 4 or 5 tournaments this year. Every single one of them, I slept 4 hours or less, and I was up and ready to go at 4 a.m.
Yep.
So
It
that alone
sounds
right there beats you up.
So that's actually a good question, and this is something that, in my personal opinion, so TX is saying if you're motoring that 20 yards, or you're throwing a search bait at the open bank until you get there. I do right now with my pedal drive. I do what I call stick and move. So I'll pedal a little bit, cast, reel, wait till my kayak kind of slows to a stop, pedal a little bit, cast, reel. That's how I move.
Yeah.
My teammate wants to just fly to the tournament because my teammate, this is where our styles are so different that it makes it tough to fish with a teammate. He wants to dink and dunk the freaking crap out of every piece of shoreline, so he needs to stop. And when he needs to go to the next spot, he needs to just go and then start fishing that spot.
Yeah.
But this is where something that I highly recommend if you are just starting fishing. Now, I do recommend getting a pedal drive, but If you don't start with a motor, you're going to learn how to pick an area apart. If you start with a paddle kayak and then upgrade to a pedal drive or upgrade to a motor, the advantage you're going to have is you're going to appreciate that the number one, and I'll say this, and I shouldn't say it because it's going to burn me and it's going to cost me a tournament win. The number one area at the lake you're fishing a tournament is probably 30 yards from the boat ramp. And the
Yep.
reason for that is because everybody that fishes that boat ramp cranks down that motor and flies to the other side of the lake, flies to that grass flat, flies to that island. They don't fish the general vicinity of the ramp. No one does it. Bass boats don't do it. Kayaks don't do it. And
Yep.
you'd be surprised how many 5-pounders. I won a tournament 30 yards from the boat ramp.
Tweezy's big on that.
It's
Don't know where to
right
fish,
there
fish
and it's
ramp.
ignored, and the fish
Yep.
know it's ignored and they feel safe there because everybody flies out. So if you have that appreciation of having to work at an area and having that limited range, then you use your motor wisely. Because the other thing I don't condone is these bass boat guys, and I'm not trying to disparage bass boat guys, but you see these guys fly up on a spot. I'm sure you've seen them in your kayak. Drop that trolling motor, they cast 3 times, they pull that trolling motor up, and they're gone. Like, you just wasted your time. I don't care if you got forward facing sonar and you got $50,000 worth of electronics. I don't care if you got a guy in a scuba tank following you around pointing to the fish. You can't pull up on a spot, cast 3 times, and leave and expect to have a good day. It doesn't. I'm telling you, I've fished against guys like that, and I've destroyed them every time because I'm willing to spend 20 minutes on a tree because there is a fish in there. I know there is. And that's what I mean by the instinct thing. Like, you just know, okay, there's a reason you fish this area because the wind's blowing a certain way, and you remember that time from 2 years ago when you fished a lake like this and it had a tree like this and you caught a 5-pounder. That's the kind of stuff that wins you tournaments. It's not your $30,000 electronics and your MK180 and your XI3.
Yeah. That was Jesus, that went quick. That was an hour, dude.
Dude, yeah, it goes quick when you have a guest, huh?
It really does.
I don't know how you do it, dude. I got to give you props, dude. I watch your lives and I'm like, I don't know how he continues the conversation. Like, I get like, I can't. Like, if I do a live that's going to be solo, it's going to be like a seminar. So be aware, guys, if that happens, I'm going to break a lake down. Like, I'm going to like put a video in the background and show you guys what I'm doing or something. I'm not good at keeping the conversation going without
like
someone
I
to
said,
bounce off of.
People at my job, somebody said it the other day. They're like, who's Maine talking to? And I was like, what? They were like, and then one of my our desks are lined up. I work sell cars. So
Yep.
desks are lined up. So my boy in front of me goes, who's Maine talking to? And then the guy in front of him goes, oh, God, you definitely don't watch any of his YouTube videos because he sounds like just like his YouTube videos. He's just chatting. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, well, thanks, fellas. You know, like I guess I'm a weirdo, but I just talk to myself.
I can do it. Dude, I do it a lot when I'm fishing. And sometimes I find that like I'll make content. Like if you watch my videos every once in a while, you'll see like a video like me catching a fish and then I'm laughing.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like I'll catch a fish, but you'll hear me laughing before I even hook set. That's because I was singing some stupid song to myself, or like I'll be like, I literally will think of the dumbest stuff in my head, and then I'll like laugh at my own joke in my own head, or even say it out loud, and then like I've literally had people next to me in boats be like, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm not talking to you." They're like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "Me."
Yep. That's it.
I wasn't catching, so I started telling myself a story. I don't know.
TX said about to be a Yankee versus a Polar Yankee fight over some syrup.
Yeah, did you see that? We had the Canadian versus Vermont syrup deal.
That is funny.
Grimy actually told me he was going to fight me the other day.
Yeah, he yells at me all the time.
Because I pick on my Canadian buddy because he's always like, at the end of our videos, we'll do outros at tournaments. He'll be like, yeah, guys, it was like really hot. It was like 20 degrees. And my face always goes, what the fuck is he talking about? And I'm like, oh, yeah, Celsius. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
brother. I think we'll get ready to wrap this on up. Yeah. I'm tired, especially from my tournament this weekend. But we'll get a couple more in. You know.
Oh, this winter, dude, guys, be ready for.
Yes,
I may just do a bunch. We may just like
I'm
swap
with
and
it.
just like
Yeah,
jump on each other's podcasts if we can't find guests or whatever.
keep
Because
it rolling.
this winter time, I'm still trying to go weekly. It's just going to be whether or not I have a guest or have something that I feel like you guys are going to be. That's why I didn't stream this on my channel, to be honest, guys, is because we collectively seem to have a pretty loyal fan base, but we also have a very mixed fan base. So
Yeah,
I didn't want to make you guys watch two streams of this exact same stream. So I was just like, you know what, we'll just do it on mains this time because he's been online before. So, but
and then
it's
we'll see how it
it's
goes.
pretty it's honestly pretty crazy how like we have this like really dedicated. I never thought I'd have like people that show up 2.5 hours before my podcast to listen to me talk on the internet about
Right,
fishing. Like it's crazy to me.
right. It really is. I appreciate every one, the last one of y'all, especially channel members again, Fishing Maniacs. Thank you. Um, Next week, what we're gonna do, we'll probably get on, talk about Gunnersville in the public live, and then in the private live, I might go over some like exact locations where I'm looking at, show you guys where I caught my big one last year, and then I think I'm gonna do 2 giveaways next week. One of them I will say, if you guys don't mind, we'll probably need a little help getting down there. So it'll be kind of like one will be like a pay to play, but I'm gonna make sure that the giveaway will be worth it.
Do like a raffle like Rudd does.
Yeah, that's exactly what I plan on doing. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to get like the whole idea together and get like a nice big tackle box to give away. We'll throw in some missile baits, a bunch of 6 cent stuff. If you have a 6 cent bait in particular that you want, I'll figure something out. But yeah. Next week, stay tuned. I got the 6 cent sack. I'm sorry I'm late. That new one actually, this order's been processed, but I'm gonna get this out on Thursday. I got to get part 2 up of me qualifying for the knucklehead. So we got some good content coming here.
It gets to
So
be a grind, dude. I got 3 videos sitting in my folder right now that I just haven't done yet.
it's always a grind. So you know what I call it, and I never stick by it. Abe, always be editing because I
Dude,
edit on
so
my phone. So
I
I do
see
everything on my
I
phone.
couldn't do it on my phone, dude. There's
It's
no
tough.
way.
But so that's where I try to I have the file up, but I just I try to do it when I'm at work. Like, oh, work slow. Okay, click it and just edit a little bit.
Yeah.
Edit for
I could see where the phone would be
30 minutes.
beneficial for that for
Yeah,
sure.
because it's like when I get dude, there's been times where over the winter it was stupid slow, and I was like, oh well.
Yeah.
And I just lock in for 20 minutes, AirPod, lock in for 20
Yeah.
minutes and get a whole section of a couple fish catches knocked out, and it's all right, it makes it a little bit easier. But
It's funny because I complain about my editing, but I have 3 videos a week through October because I fish so much.
Jesus,
Dude, I have actually more content hitting in the next 2 months than has hit almost all year. And I have
good.
videos in reserve. But the thing is that's one thing about the content stuff is I want to say to everybody that's in here, thank you guys for taking the time to watch it because like he was saying, that 20 minutes that he spends editing, yeah, it's for him and he enjoys doing it. But if I put a video up and one person watches it, that whole 5 hours of fishing
Worth it.
and the 2 hours of editing, somebody watched it and liked it. That's like my thank you. That's like my
Just the
payment.
7, 8 comments I get,
Yeah.
obviously from the fishing maniacs, even the consistent ones, it still makes me. I'm like, all right, my guys or girls are here. Just
Yeah,
somebody.
it's cool having like a group of community people that like want to see your content. It makes you motivated because I'll admit there's like I said the grind, dude. I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I want to fish today, but then like I'm like, yeah, but there'll probably be a topwater bite, which means I can
Yeah,
make a really cool video like that
yeah,
stupid. I call it stupid, but those like simple little montage videos that I put up with the fish catch with a couple hook sets and the music. But like I couldn't make that video if I didn't have the motivation to go get on the water. And that motivation
yeah,
comes from the people in the chat right now that say, dude, that was an awesome video. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going back out and doing that again.
yep. Keeps you going.
So
especially when life's beating your ass. So,
Absolutely. So,
all right, fishing maniacs, we will catch you guys on the next one. Deuces.